I'll tell you a story before it tells itself. I'll lay out all my reasons. You say that I need help. We all got expectations.
Hey guys, what's going on? I am Jeremy LaRose. Welcome to the bonus video of our Patreon page here. This is week number 1. We're covering the Congress prep. So we're going to pick up where we left off with that. New day with Marley here. Still want to focus on keeping her round and square, trying to get her to really step up underneath herself and have that self-carriage that we're looking for, because that's going to be so huge when you go down the Congress and you're at the long rail, you're staring down that wall, and your horse just has to carry itself along. So you don't want to run into a problem halfway down that rail where your horse is falling, right? So today we're going to take a lot of looks behind this horse, taking a peek at how square she is, how she keeps herself balanced, and where her legs are flying. So if you guys have been paying attention on Facebook, we've had some comments, right? And that's just kind of the way it goes. This is Congress time, and they just kind of all come out of the woodwork. So trying to educate the general public on what a pleasure horse is supposed to do, right? So when we go through and we look at a horse lope, we talk all the time about having that shape. But the most important piece, that is, the only reason why you have shape in the first place is so that they can get their hip underneath themselves. So their hip needs to be slightly over, but it's only because in that position they can get their hip under, right? So if my horse was really straight here, if you were to watch this left hind, it would step up and clip her left front. And that's not where you want to be, right? So she would clip the bulb of her heel. The reason why that hip is over is so it doesn't interfere. So we're trying to look at those 3 lines, right? So when we watch a horse lope away, point of their stifle through the point of their inside shoulder, that's where we want to lope through. So we're going to look at that position and make sure that that's flying straight. So when we talk about straightening the pleasure horse out, this is really what we're talking about. That horse lopes underneath itself and lopes straight, not loping with its legs flying sideways. So you're going to see a bit of that with Marley here today, and you're going to see her get a little bit upset. So what happens is we got to keep in mind our time process, right? So we've been doing a lot of this right here, where we back her off and we get her stood back up, so that she holds her shoulders up. But when you do that, you end up putting a lot of just reverse in your horse, right? So when your horse gets a little too much reverse, those front feet get light and they want to come off the ground. So if you run into a horse that wants to come off the ground, this is kind of what we're going to be addressing here. And it's going to be this move right here, this indirect turn. Get that body moving where you want it to move. Get those shoulders back opened up, because they can't rear if they have their shoulders open, right? So in order to pop off the ground, she's got to lock right there. She's got to lock those front legs and really just shut down up front. So the piece we're going to be targeting is right behind the cinch. So Macy's left leg here, that piece right there has got to lock up. And you're going to see Marley fall a lot to the inside here. And that's really one of our biggest problems, is getting her to travel straight, but she wants to fall in. So I want to get behind her here, this next path, and I want to see how she actually tips. So the hardest part about Western Pleasure to me is getting that straight horse, right? So getting that horse that actually lopes straight. And in that, as you ride down this rail or ride down this straight line, you've got to have a horse that stays on the line. So you got to really pay attention. You got to make all these legs travel. A small fall makes a huge difference down the rail. So here, right there, see Marley start to tip over, and Macy's not going to babysit, right? So she tipped over slightly. Macy's going to call it and make her stand back up. So that's a huge move. And as she lopes this straight line, we want to talk about split, right? So everybody wants to focus on split of the front legs and the back legs, split their hock, right? So when we watch this horse lope away, I want you to pay attention more to how she splits from her hips. So look at the split. Look how she keeps her front end open and keeps her hips open. That's really what we talk about when we talk about opening shoulders up or opening hips up. So when you see this horse go from behind, look at how she makes straight lines, and this is why she's able to go straight and be in position and go really slow. So it's this shape right here, and I want to pause the video, and I want you to really take a look at this shape. So see how our horse has got those 3 lines, and this is almost perfect right here. She's just slightly over with her hip, a little too far, but that could be where the shape is too. But the most important piece to pay attention to here is that see the gaps in between her feet on both sides right there, right? So we have this horse that fits perfectly in this square, this little rectangle, this box, and that's what we're trying to create. And I want her to maintain this position the whole way down this line. So anytime those legs try to cross into the midline, we should push it around, we should stop her, we should open her back up, right? So she's fading, she's falling back into Macy's foot. She's either going to fade to the inside of the inside leg or fade to the outside of the outside leg, right? So when we talk about keeping a horse square, this is really what we're talking about, where we want our horse to be right going, traveling straight between our hands and our feet. And that really is the most important piece of horse training, is that you keep a horse square between your hands, square between your feet, and they respect each corner of control as you go down this rail. So going back to our video here in motion, you see a Marley going way straighter than she was before. So we zoom in a little bit here, much straighter line all the way up to the end here, where we make kind of a panic move, really. A sharp corner, sharper than we want to make. This is one of the areas that Marley really struggles with, is going around those corners. We talked about that in the last video, how hard it is for her to keep her hip over as she goes around the corner. So Macy felt her lean on her a little bit right here. She's going to back her off, shut her down, say, nope, we can't do that. We'll start back off. One of the big things about that lope off and about that backup is I really want you to pay attention to how she loped off, right? How she rocked over that back end. So let's go take another look at it. So I want to slow this down so we can take a peek at it. And this is really how I feel a lope off start and go through, right? So we're going to back this horse off, and time just slows down when you're backing them up, and then it speeds back up when you go to lope back off. And that's a weird way to describe it, I know, but let's take another look at it again. And so when she backs this horse off, she's coiling it onto her back end. So you say lean into it here. She's going to coil all that weight right there. She shifts onto her back end, and then both spurs in, squeeze that horse up, and then melt that leg off. So you see her inside leg kick off right there, and now she's got rhythm, now she's got flow. That's really what we're talking about. That's what you got to have. That lope off is huge. So as we watch the rest of this line, where we see a horse, I'm really happy with this line. This line's really showable. Macy's got a big drape on there. Marley's carrying herself around pretty cute right here, very consistent. And she gets a little unsure, not really sure how to make that corner. That's okay. Rather than just stop and do something, see how we kept her in motion. We keep those shoulders open, keep standing everything up to the outside, and lope back off. And that's a good lope off right at you, so you can see that. So coming along here, really, really balanced. Maybe a little quick up front, but that's okay. We'll fix that with being a little more tired. So this right here, pretty quality lope. Very happy with this. And I think the biggest thing when you watch horses lope, or we train on these horses, is remember, I'm not trying to make her lope. I'm just trying to put buttons on, right? I'm trying to teach her position. I'm trying to teach her the rules as to how she's got to stay balanced. So watching that line, that's what we're going for. We're going for this horse that has balance and flow. I don't want to force her to move any specific way. And that's how our program really works for a wide variety of horses. And that to me is what a horse trainer's job is. It's not my job to make this horse lope. It's my job to teach her how to use her body. So when we watch this horse lope, we're not trying to judge her movement. We're just trying to say, are you staying square between our hands and our feet? And when you start riding like that, it makes a lot more sense to the horse. It makes a lot more sense as a rider to say, this piece is out of line, rather than, does this look good from the side? I have no idea. It's very hard to tell, but it's easy to tell. Does this horse lean on my foot? Is it leaning on my outside foot? Is it falling down its shoulder? Do I have balance left to right? And do I have balance front to back? And then from there, do I have lift? Because if you have those things, you've got a lope, right? You've got everything that your horse could possibly give. And I've been really fortunate to be able to say that at least personally, I've not seen a horse leave my program and look better with someone else. And I think that's why, right? Because we spend so much time just trying to get that horse to be as balanced as possible, as free as possible, and just be good underneath of us. So we're working on the jog here, and what we run into is a horse that wants to hold her hip over to the left. So Macy's just checking her button here. She's saying, do you come up and are you square? And we can see Marley's not square at all. She wants to hold her hip over to the left, and that's it right there. That's that refusal to step up with her right hind. And And that's something we run into too, right? So as the teacher, as her coach, as Marley's coach, we've got to say, I know this is hard. I know you don't want to do this, but I'm right. I know I'm doing the right thing. And maybe that's the hardest piece as a rider, is to say, I'm doing the right thing. You've got to figure it out when your horse tells you no like that. But we can see it here in Marley's jog, especially like right now, how she tries to be lazy on that right hind. And I mean, if you watch this horse jog, you could say, she's jogging a little sore right there. But to me, I look at it as a horse training issue to say she's got her hip over to the left. So if her hip is hooked over to the left, there's no way she can swing that right hind through and finish as close to her right front as she is with her left side, right? So coming across there, we've got to get this horse to where when we go to both spurs, she'll stay square and straight. To me, this is just a form of cheating, right? So we're going to our spurs. Macy is square here on top. And look at Marley hook over to the left. And that's why I stress so much looking at these horses from the front to back, because if you just saw her jogging that line down the side, then you maybe miss why she's doing that. And it's not necessarily that she's sore. It's just that she's not stepping through. And look at the refusal. I mean, she certainly doesn't want to step through there. She just wants to lope on the left lead. She just likes it a lot. So a bit of confusion here. To me, it's a horse training issue. So what we would do is we'd stay after this for a little while, and we'd make sure that we've done our part to make sure our horse isn't confused, and then look at potential soreness as an issue. There's a lot of ways through horse training that our horse can try to escape us or cheat that aren't necessarily like, oh, this horse is sore. So watching her jog away, you really see that. So let's pause it here, and we'll slow the video down and take a look at, watch these legs fly in rather than fly straight out of the top of her hip. So right there, look at that hind leg almost touch her ankle there. That right there is a lot of the reason why we struggle so much getting this horse, A, to jog, and then B, to jog well, right? So jogging well is about having rhythm. It's about having balance and flow. And when they jog like that, you're going to have a heck of a time trying to get this horse to stay square and drive deep underneath herself, because she spends so much time slinging into her midline rather than jogging straight ahead. So it's going to affect how they profile. So as we wrap this video up for the day, I just wanted to give you guys a little inside peek into how we struggle and the things that Marley struggles with and has a hard time with, and how we work through them. So we know we have this braciness in our left side, right behind our cinch, right here. And I'm sure everybody's horse has given us this look before, right? So the big thing here for me is that you stay committed as the rider to the maneuver. So you see Macy get out a couple times right there. She's going to stay in as she goes through this maneuver, no matter where your horse goes. If she wants to back over a fence, if she wants to run into a rail, if she wants to run into a wall, whatever it is, just stay committed until you get that. So as she moves through that maneuver, she gets it right finally, then the pressure goes away. And that's the only time the pressure goes away. And I can't stress that enough, that no matter what your horse is doing, if you stay calm and just work through it, and only take the pressure away as she does it right, then you're going to be in a way better spot. So you see here how this horse is going to lighten up a ton. She starts to understand what we're trying to get. She's going to relax. Really what I'm looking for here is as we do this maneuver over and over and we get these repetitions in, that when we're done, so like right now, that she stops, stands there, and gathers her feet up and takes a puff. That's the ideal, right? So you see her swishing her tail. She was shaking her head, stomping her foot. All those things kind of tell us that she's not really feeling the correction. You know what I mean? Like we did the correction, she did the maneuver, but she wasn't committed to it. So we've got to stay in here, keep working that side so that we can jog this tight circle and get that left side up and around as we go to do things. And we covered that a little bit in the last video too, how she has such a hard time driving through, like when she goes to lope with her back in to the right. And it's just because she wants to hang everything on the outside. She wants to lean on the outside spur. We've got to fix it. So hopefully we have enough time before the Congress to do that. Our strategy from here forward, this is now the 4th of October, we're pushing our horse up. So we know that we have about 20 days before showtime, I guess 14 if you think about the first time she goes in the pen. So that gives us 2 weeks. If we continue to keep this horse tuned up, right, and keep her in that little box, we're going to get more of this. So the more we slam her backwards, the more that we back her off. This is why we have this, right? This is why we have backing up, because we've backed her off a lot over the last week or so. We don't want to peak too early, and that's a big part of prepping for the Congress is don't peak too early. So trying to get your horse to where she will be ready when you go down there and not the week before. So we're going to spend the next week galloping this horse up, pushing her out, rolling her around, because we don't need her to be that tight right now. So we're going to take advantage of the fact that the pen that we're in is empty and push her up and roll her around and get her free and true again, because we've got her thinking just a bit too much back right now. So you see Macy stay committed to this maneuver. She's going to keep her foot on there. She's going to kind of keep bumping her hands, showing this horse where to go. And that's really what you have to do to get a horse to where it'll go around and do what you want it to do. You got to stay committed. So that's it for today, guys. Thank you so much for tuning in. This is the premium video for you guys. Without you guys, I wouldn't be able to do this stuff. Appreciate your support so much. Hope you learned something. If you have any questions, feel free to send them in. Tell your friends about this stuff. We want to make it as big as possible, as cool as possible. I'm trying to do new things all the time. So if you like this video, give us a shout out, and hopefully we'll see you next week. Thanks for tuning in, guys. See ya.